I want to bring in Mark Travis. He's the president and CEO of Intrepid Capital, where he manages $1.4 billion, some of which he's plowed into markets in the last few weeks, adding to existing positions and also new holdings. Mark, as you say, amid all of this volatility. And in fact, for a guy like you who is taking risks at certain points, you actually like the volatility, gave you some opportunities, right?
Yeah, Betty Lou, I think that from our perspective, it's hard to find a disconnect between price and value until you get some volatility. And really, over the last 3 years, going back to the debt downgrade and the volatility in the equity markets in August and September of 11, it's been hard for us to find new places and dislocations to put money to work, equity or debt. So we're starting to see that, and I hope viewers and investors don't flee just because there's price volatility. That should signal opportunity from my perspective.
So what were some of the holdings that you were kind of holding back on, Mark, waiting for this volatility that you then jumped in and snapped up?
Well, I think that there's the biggest decimation from my perspective has been in the E&P space, you know, where you've got a commodity price like natural gas or oil that certainly dropped pretty appreciably in the last 6 or 8 weeks. You combine that with some leverage and, you know, the equity can get really kind of crushed from my perspective. But, you know, a lot of it's based on assumptions of gas or oil in your valuations and whether or not the company's hedged and maybe where they are in the the Marcellus or Bakken or wherever they may be. So, you know, one name that's really interesting to us is Northern Oil and Gas. It's really an entrepreneurial story. It started out as, you know, kind of a shell business, and it's grown to $1.5 billion enterprise value. It's about half debt, half equity.
Okay.
Michael Regner. It's got 20 employees, and it's got an 8% interest in 2,000 wells in the Bakken Shale. So it's very people light, and it's hedged. So we think that's an interesting play.
Mark,
yes,
Mark, it's Pim. Just tell people, how does a surfer dude with an aw shucks manner end up running like what I would think of as the Jimmy Buffett, you know, small and mid cap value fund out of Jacksonville, Florida? Who's Mark Travis? Come on.
You know, Pim, I got to tell you, I've got our 20th anniversary is coming up for the Intrepid Capital Management, and my opening quote is from the Grateful Dead song, you may recall, Trucking. My, what a long, strange trip it's been. You know, I think we're trying to...
You going to hum a few bars, maybe, or even sing a little bit on TV?
I'm hoping that Jerry Garcia will step in here for me, but... So, no, you know, I think that we've always tried to give people access to the smaller cap equity market with as little risk as possible and the short duration high yield debt market. You know, places we think the markets are inefficient and really trying to take a patient long-term view, but that's not the way most people do it. They like momentum, they like clear skies, and like a price that's appreciated before they buy it. I'd also point out that most people, unfortunately, buy high and sell low, and that's something that I certainly try to avoid. I don't avoid it entirely, but I try to.
Hey, Mark, this is Mia here. You said that you found some opportunities in the small cap space. I'm wondering what you're finding in the international small cap space. If you take a look at the MSCI World Developed Small Cap Index, off close to 4% over the year-to-date basis. What are you seeing here? What looks good to you? What markets?
Well, Mia, you know, we try to stick to the developed markets. You know, we're going to develop an international small cap product we'll bring out early in the year for people, the same, you know, thresholds as our other funds. I think that if you look in the U.S. market between 100 million and 2.5 billion, which we define as our marketplace, there's like 3,400 companies. If you look at the developed markets, there's over 13,000. So you've got kind of a 4X opportunity.
Which developed markets? For example, in Asia and Europe, which ones are you looking at?
Well, like right now, we're looking in UK. We've looked in France. We looked in Canada. You know, so their names, and I'll be happy to list them if you like, that we think have merit where there's, and a lot of times, attractive dividend rate, attractive free cash flow generation, which is like blood to a shark for us. And a valuation that's not demanding if you're patient enough to wait for it to the discount to be breached.
Hey, Mark, I remember you were on our program several years ago, I think, when you were shorting Tesla, right? And everyone You were like, land back.
A painful reminder, Betty Lou.
So you got out of your short. Of course, the stocks hit.
Barely, yes.
Barely, yes. Yes,
With
wrong
my
side of
shorts
the
on.
trade. Okay,
Yeah.
so it's since hit these record highs, but it has gone down quite a bit since reaching that record. I mean, what do you think of Tesla now?
Well, Betty Lou, obviously one of my not one of my better calls. I would make a distinction for viewers there again. I think it's a nice looking vehicle. I think the people that drive them really like them. And I think it's interesting technology, and Elon Musk is certainly a visionary in a lot of ways. He's also done a great job in getting government subsidies, which, you know, the rest of us running private businesses a lot of times aren't availed of. So I disparage him on that front, but the vehicle is very nice. I don't see, frankly, how that enterprise is worth $30 billion for the opportunity to lose a couple $100 million. I don't want to invest in a company at that valuation.
You know,
so I think BMW and Porsche are going to be very viable competitors in that space, personally.
All right. I think Elon, when I talked to him the other week, I mean, he said the same thing. I can't really quite figure out why I am worth, or the company's worth $30 billion either. Okay, Mark.
I'm sure he has a list under his bed, under his pillow.
Yeah, exactly. Mark Travis, thank you so much of Intrepid Capital.